Hello guys, welcome back to the video today. And today I'm going to be talking about how if you're in the 15 to 25 age range, it is the perfect time for us right now to take advantage of different opportunities presenting themselves. I mean, as you guys I'm sure have seen as of filming, today's April 4th and it's now the second day after Trump's tariffs went into full effect. And regardless of how you feel politically about those tariffs, there is no doubt at all that it's taking an extreme toll on the markets. And so a lot of people can look at that and be like, it's scary to think of my retirement going down the drain and a lot of money's being lost. You see the 1,000-point losses in these various headlines. And the reality of it is it's a buying situation, especially for us youngins who don't have much of a retirement build up, maybe have some cash set aside that you're not sure what to do with. Now is the time to buy. And I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Yes, I do work in a finance field, and what I can do is tell you what I am doing and not necessarily recommend that to you. But I can say for myself right now, I've been buying a lot of index funds, a lot of dividend ETFs, that sort of thing. I have to use an approved brokerage for all of my trading needs. And so something I'd recommend that has a super simple UI user interface to get started with is definitely Robinhood. If you go on there, then there's a bunch of filters you can search through too, just for safety of cash that you're depositing in there. And it's a great app, and I have a lot of experience with it. Just like I said, I'm not able to use that anymore. And with that being said, your next question might be, where do I get that money from? How do I acquire these amounts to be able to invest in index funds, ETFs? And I have a couple different answers for you. So first off, there's a strategy known as DRIP, another name for it's DCA, which is dollar cost averaging is what it stands for. And pretty much how it works is, let's say that you take an ETF like SPY, for example. Now, how SPY works is similar to the S&P 500. It moves in the same way. It has the same patterns and that sort of thing. But instead of it just being a futures derivative that trades in points and that sort of thing, it trades more like a stock, if that makes sense, without getting too into detail about how it works. But what you can do with that is just you can set up a recurring investment of just, $5 a week, $10 a week, whatever is affordable for you and makes sense. And what dollar cost averaging and how it works and kind of the secret sauce behind it is that the money that goes in there, it has an average cost. So SPY's at $500 and you buy $5 worth or 0.01 shares. These are simply for illustration purposes, but if you have 0.01 shares at $500 and let's say SPY goes down to 450, which is pretty drastic for a week's change, and you buy another $5, well, then you would have 0.2 shares at a $475 average, if that makes sense. So the strategy behind that and why now is such a great time is because you see a lot of different ETFs, index funds down a lot. And so it's pretty much just buying something with the same upside potential for 10% off pretty much. So it's a great deal and a great time to get started in that. But to get back to what I was saying originally, the best way for us youngins and really anybody to be able to make a lot of money now is just with the rise of remote work, freelancing, digital platforms. I'm sure you guys have all seen online, the get rich quick schemes and that sort of thing. I'm not at all a proponent of that, and I don't believe in those at all. To be completely honest with you, I've tried just about every single one of them, affiliate marketing, ghostwriting, drop shipping, trading, which you do learn a little bit from each one, there's definitely some method to it. It's just not something that's feasible very easily, and it takes a lot of work, and it's really saturated too, think of how many times you've seen ads about it and then multiply that by the 100 million people across the world who want to do the same thing. It's just very difficult to get into without having a really sharpened strategy or just being one of the first ones there. With that being said, my recommendation to you would be doing something that, regardless of saturation or how many people are in it, you can still profit off of it anyway, which is why, for me at least, trading stood out to me so much, is because, it doesn't matter if there's one other person trading or a million other people trading, there's still that same chance to make money. And so if you guys want more videos about that and want to hear me go a little more in depth regarding trading, I'd be happy to do so. I have a lot of experience with it, and so to be able to share my knowledge would be pretty cool, and that would be exciting. Another thing too that I would recommend, especially for, there's a lot of people who get kind of stuck up in the, should I go to college? Should I not? Should I start my own business? Should I do a 9 to 5? That sort of thing. And the number one piece of advice I would give you with that, just as someone who has worked on their own in a family business and has worked a 9 to 5 job and is working one currently, is just don't listen to online and what people say about it on Reddit or Instagram and how it's corporate hell and it's terrible and all that, because the reality of it is it's not. Corporate can mean so many different things just depending on what department you're in, what company you're working for, and that sort of thing. So I wouldn't get too hung up in what people are saying online about it. More so, I would recommend just trying it and seeing how you like it. I'm a huge proponent of just trying different things, seeing what you like and don't like. My actual major that I got in is sports related, and obviously working in a finance field, not sports related, is a very different thing. And so the thing is I never would have known if I liked finance unless I tried it. You know what I mean? As I said, I tried a bunch of different business opportunities. Trading was the one that stood out to me, and if I never would have tried it, I never would have known. And that's how I got the job I'm in now, which is a great career path. I'm studying for various licenses, and so it's really helping me set up, and it helps you be a lot more marketable and that sort of thing. But there are cons to that as well, aside from those pros. I do have to be somewhere at a set time. I have to listen to somebody who's telling me what to do, when I need it to be done. And I'm making people rich, honestly, that aren't me. And when you look at it that way, it does kind of suck, because, you could be taking those skills and applying them in your own business and making yourself rich. And so another con of it would just be that, honestly, is just the ability to make other people rich but not be able to make that money for yourself. And so that is another example of why I think a 9 to 5 can be another pro of it. I would say it's more so a pro of working for yourself, but you can't do it without a 9 to 5, is just taking skills that you learn from your 9 to 5 and starting your own business with it. So if you're kind of, the finance field is a bad example unless you have just a couple billion laying around. But if you're in construction, for example, let's say you're doing housing remodels, bathroom, bedroom, that sort of thing. If you're great at doing those remodels, you can get it done fast, you're good with the business side of it, go out on your own and start doing remodels. You take on a lot more risk with that, but you also have a lot more reward with that opportunity. And so that's just a small little glimpse into how a 9 to 5 can help you out a lot. Some more things I recommend are just look at what's viral. I mean, if you're anything like me, you spend a lot of time on social media, and there's obviously a lot of trends that are going on. Like fitness, for example, is a huge one right now. I mean, how many people do you see online that are bodybuilders that definitely aren't taking steroids and using a lot of supplements and that sort of thing? Like stuff like that, that's really popular. You just got to find a way to profit and make money off of that. And so something I would recommend is just using ChatGPT, honestly, just finding a niche, something that's popular, whether it's gaming, obviously, whether it's through the gym. Financial literacy is also super popular right now. It's almost cool to be knowing these, or cool to be going to the gym. And so if you just find little niches like that you can really get in and learn a lot about, and just to be able to make a business off it, if you go to a local YMCA, for example, and you see a bunch of people who look like they don't know what they're doing, you can just walk up and be like, hey, for $50, I'll come here for an hour and I'll train you, and I'll get you set up with the diet plan and get you set up with the workout plan. And that's all just something you can type into ChatGPT and have it set up for you real quick. And so anymore, I don't want to say it's easy to make a lot of money, because it's not. Making money isn't easy. It's not something that's accessible for a lot of people. And so I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm a millionaire who got rich quick, because I'm not a millionaire and I'm not rich, and it definitely wasn't quick. An opportunity, though, that I did want to dive into for you guys is through the website called Upwork. I'm not sure if some of you are familiar with it, if you're not, but it's a great opportunity to freelance and get some remote work and stuff like that. And there's different options on there, like if someone just needs a one-time project they need help with, or whether it's 3 to 6 months, kind of short term, or a contract to hire where they bring you on, you're a contracted employee for them, and they see how you do. If they like you, they hire you. So it's really cool through there to be able to find opportunities, because it's not saturated at all. There's no spam businesses looking for people, or no multi-level marketing on there that I'm aware of, at least, and in my experience using it. And so that's something I definitely recommend, especially for a lot of you who have a lot of sales and business experience. If not, also totally okay. I'll have a few more for you here in a few minutes. But yeah, and if any of you guys are really good with AI or software engineering and that sort of thing, there's a huge demand for you on Upwork. There's a lot of people who need help with that in business, just as a way to maximize their time and be more efficient. And it's just people who don't have that experience and don't know how to. And so the topic I was going to get into anyway, for those of you who are less experienced, is just getting a Google certificate, honestly. I know that's not something that's super well known, so I'll give you a little breakdown of how it works. So if you just search online courses with certificates for Google, they have a website you can go onto, and to my knowledge, it's completely free. If it is paid, it's very cheap, but you can just go on there, and it's all through Coursera, and you can just get certified in digital marketing, project management, data analytics, IT support, just a million different things. And that's something that can help you build your resume and get a lot more experience and looks really good. And so if you're struggling with a job or to find like a higher paying career just because of a lack of experience, that's something I would very much recommend. Another point I wanted to dive in here today is about building your personal brand. Now, when I say personal brand, I'm not talking about like a brand of clothing or a business that you have that has your name on it. I'm just talking about yourself and your professional career more so. And another really good way to build that is through an online presence. So LinkedIn, obviously very well known. I would highly recommend for those of you who haven't and want to be in a business career to make a LinkedIn. Keep it updated, keep a good picture of yourself in there, throw in one of those posts every once in a while, just to keep it updated, because when people go to hire you and they're looking to see what kind of person you are, the first place they're going to look you up on is LinkedIn, see who you are, what you've done, and that sort of thing. So it's really important to keep one of those. And another cool aspect of LinkedIn is the ability to build connections on there. So if you go to college, again, not saying you need to or you should, just saying if you did, then the first thing I would do is just start sending friend requests to people you know and went to college with, just because that helps you build your network. And let's say John Smith, who you went to college with, works at a large law firm, for example, and you guys both went to law school together. Now, if you're out of a job but you see him post about it, that gives you an example to apply. And if they go around being like, hey, this person applied, do you know anything about him? Be like, they'll vouch for you. They know who you are because they know you do the same for them. So definitely keeping that network and growing is important. And this is something I know I touched on in the last video. I don't want to keep beating the same horse, but it's about just investing at a young age. And, even if you are 25, if you're 30, 35, literally if you're up until 55 years old, because even once you turn 55 in a Roth IRA, you can contribute an extra amount each year just as like a catch-up fund. So unless you're 65, there is no reason why you should not start investing. And the younger you get, the more need to start. And it's just so crucial and so important how much compounding interest can affect you and how much stocks can grow. And a cool statistic I learned is throughout any 20 years of the S&P 500 that it's ever existed, throughout, if you take, regardless of it's the 2008 crash, if it's COVID, if it's the dot-com bubble burst, anything, if you take any 20-year period from the S&P 500, and put in $100 at the beginning or however much, you never will suffer a loss throughout any 20-year period. If you hold it the full time, you never suffer a loss. And so whenever I get questions, family, friends being like, hey, I want to invest, but I don't know how to start, drip, as I mentioned earlier, just start dripping money into the S&P 500. Again, not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not telling you where you should be spending your money. I'm just saying what I do. And I had done a lot of research. I have a lot of knowledge. And so another huge thing that I see a lot of people do, especially friends, is just blow through money like crazy. Budgeting is something that's so important, but it's not nearly discussed enough. So what I can recommend for a lot of you is just make an Excel spreadsheet. We were all in school. I know they taught all of us how an Excel sheet works or Google Sheets or whatever it may be, but I highly recommend making one of those, tracking your monthly income, your expenses, and you need to treat investments as well in that like a necessity. It's not just, whatever's left over after I get a couple beers in Chipotle this week. It needs to be something that's really prioritized and really important. And that brings me to, looks like the conclusion of this Marvel Rivals gameplay here. I did only include the full time, but I did end up winning in overtime. Don't worry. I would never show you guys a loss because I don't lose. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you.